Hello, I'm Madam Eva, a biology teacher from Educare Tanzania, and I'm here, my dear student, to take you through a series of sessions involving solving of revision questions in our media Educare Tanzania. And today we will continue with our level of Form 4, but in the topic of evolution, we will start with those revision exercise at the mid of the sessions of the notes, and then we will finalize with the last revision question number 4. And so you can see here, we will start with the revision exercise number 4.1. And in the topic of evolution, you can see the question number 1 need us to explain the main ideas in the special creation theory of the origin of life. As you can see, the question in the topic of evolution, we learned about theories of origin of life, and both theories we learned here at our Media Educare Tanzania. You have to take your time to pass it through the various topics, then you will come back to the revision questions so that you will be capable of understanding each and everything in an easy manner. Now, we are required to give out the main ideas in the theory of origin of life. As we explore through different theories, there was the theory of creation or creationism theory, cosmozoic spontaneous generation theory, as well as steady state and cosmozoic theory. Now, the question requires us to explain the main ideas of theory of creation. As we can remember, this theory was all about the creation or the life creation which was brought about God or the supernatural being. And now we are going to look on our answer. We can see the special creation theory, often associated with religious or creationist perspectives, posits that life originated through the direct interventions of a divine being or creator. And here are the main ideas. That is the short description about the theory. That the theory was all about the presence of life or the origin of life from the supernatural being or the creator. We can call him the God, the super being God. And now we are going to look one idea after the another tuweze kujua leo ideas of creation theory, japokuwa on our sessions hatukuzia highlight vizuri, tulitoa tu simple explanation as well as strength and weakness. So now it's your time to take a note ili uweze kuwa nazo katika daftari lako. As you can see, the first idea is divine creation, and the theory asserts that a supernatural entity created life interventional and purposefully rather than through natural process. So when we talk about the idea of divine creation, tunamaanisha kwamba maisha yalikuwa created by supernatural being, as we can see here, supernatural being or an entity create life intentional and purposefully. Tukisema intentional, it means kwamba kwa kudhamiria na kwa malengo fulani, rather than taking the life creation as the natural process. No, when we talk about the special creation theory, we mean that the life was being created in intentional manner as well as purposively manner, and not in natural process as other history or other theories claims. Tunazungumzia creationism theory na tunazungumzia the idea of divine power. And now let's take a look on another idea. You can see fixed species. On this idea, you can see it often holds that species were created in their current forms and do not change over time, contrasting with evolutionary theories that suggest species evolve through natural selection and genetic variation. As you can see, fixed species, it often holds that species were created in their current forms and do not change over time, contrasting with evolutionary theories that suggest species evolve through natural selection and genetic variation. Tunapozungumzia idea ya fixed species, it means that according to the theory of creation, it means that the species were created in their current form as they are, are not evolving or changing over time as evolutionary ideas explaining or genetic ideas explaining. Kwa hiyo according to the theory of creation tunaambiwa kwamba the life was created as it is now, yani the way ambavyo tuko kila kitu kilivyo sasa hivi, it is how it was created. So this theory iko ina contrast au tunasema inapingana na evolutionary concepts ambazo zinatuambia kwamba life change over time, meaning that the way we are today, kuna species ambazo ziliexist previously and they were slightly different from how we are nowadays, and due to evolution process we changed over time and final we as we that time we are, and that means that evolutionary ideas, they are going against these ideas of special creation. And then we can look on another idea, which is unique creation events. On special creation typically involves specific acts of creation for different life forms, such as human being created separately from other animals. Kwa hiyo idea nyingine ni kwamba kuna unique creation event. It means that according to the special creation theory, so kwamba all things in the universe or all life forms in the universe zilikuwa created in one time or in one day, no, but kulikuwa kuna unique creation events, meaning that most of species zilikuwa created on their day. As you can see, even the human beings, it seems that walikuwa created on their own day. Kwa hiyo kuna unique idea ya unique creation events. Again, there is biblical or religious texts. Many proponents base their beliefs on sacred texts, example the Bible, interpreting them as literal accounts of the origin of life and the universe. Another idea is all about the biblical or religious texts. Kuna texti za kidini, idea za kidini zinazotoka kwenye dini ambazo zina express kwamba maisha yaliumbwa au maisha yametokana na the creator, the supernatural being. Also, the rejection of evolution, you can see. This theory generally rejects evolutionary biology, arguing that it cannot adequately explain the complexity and diversity of life. Another is that rejection of the evolution. Ukiangalia hii theory ndio kuireject evolution kwa ujumla kwa sababu haielezei, haiwezi kueleza diversification of organisms as well as their complexity. Again, there is purpose and design. It emphasizes that life is designed with purpose, suggesting that everything in nature has a specific role and function as intended by the creator. Another is purpose and design, kumaanisha kwamba kila kilichotengenezwa au kila kilicho na uhai katika universe kina purpose as ilivyokuwa indicated na creator. Kila kilichopo kina purpose na kimekuwa designed kwa lengo fulani according to the creator. Again, you can see moral and ethical implications. The theory often carries moral implications, suggesting that human beings have a unique status in creation, which influences ethical consideration regarding life and the environment. Also, another idea is all about moral and ethical implications. Hapa tunaenda kuangalia the uniqueness of the human as the one of the life form in the universe. Amekuwa created katika uniqueness ambayo itampelekea yeye aweze kusurvive katika moral forms na ethical forms in the universe. And now, my dear student, this is all about the question number 1. Now we are going to question number 2, in which the question need us to differentiate between spontaneous theory and steady state theory. Tutofautishe kati ya spontaneous theory na steady state theory. And now you will have to know what is how about the statement of spontaneous theory and as well as the statement of steady state theory, and then you'll be capable of differentiating between the two. As you can see here, the spontaneous generation theory and the steady state theory are two distinct concepts related to the origin of life and the universe. here is a differentiation between the two. We are going to look on the difference between these two theories, the spontaneous generation theory as well as the steady state theory. And as we can see, my dear student, we will start with the spontaneous generation theory. Then we will look on the other side of the steady state theory and we will see their difference. As you can see here, we'll start with definition. Also, we'll see the definition of steady state theory. And then we'll look on the mechanism and other issues. As you can see here, on the definition, this theory posits that living organisms can arise from non-living matter spontaneously under certain conditions. For example, it was historically believed that maggots could arise from decaying meat. That is all about the definition of spontaneous generation theory. It's the theory which was trying to describe about the origin of life by stating that the life and all forms in the earth and all forms of life on the earth originated from non-living matters or non-living organic materials. We can take an example here. As you can see there, wameonyesha kwamba historical, but not only historical, even though currently you can see when you take a meat, you put somewhere and protected it, after some days it turns into the maggots. Ikioza inakuwa ni maggots. So that guy ambaye alieleza about the spontaneous generation theory alikuwa na idea hiyo. Alichukua miti akahifadhi, after a while ilivooza tukapata maggots, not only meat but also other organic materials zinaweza zikatupa zika give rise to living creatures. And the weakness is that kwamba hizo organic material tunazozizungumzia zilikuwa na zenye ni living creatures, and now tunaona kwamba ni maggots tu wana result. How about other living things? It means kwamba life ni maggots peke yake? No, hapa tunazungumzia all living things. Kwa hiyo ni weakness ya spontaneous. So the first one is definition. Tukidifferentiate kwa kutumia definition, tunaenda kuonyesha kwamba huyu alizungumzia kitu gani na steady state alizungumzia kitu gani. Now, another thing we can take on historical context, it was a widely accepted idea until the late 19th century when experiments by scientists like Louis Pasteur disproved it, demonstrating that microorganisms come from other microorganisms, not spontaneously from non-living matter. Hapa tunaenda kuangalia historical context, in which from historical context tunaenda kuangalia ili exist for how long. This is spontaneous generation theory ili exist hadi century ya 19 paka the scientist Louis Pasteur alivyokuja akatoa disagreements zake kwamba that is not true. We can never arise from the non-living matter, but we arise from the living one. Tunatoka kwenye uhai. I mean, we arise from the living organisms. Sasa Pasteur alikuja na hiyo idea, but hapa tuko tunajadili about the origin of life. So akituambia kwamba the organisms au life imetoka from life, it means kwamba je, hiyo life imetokea tena wapi? Kwa anatupa bado maswali ya kuendelea kujiuliza. So this is all about historical context. Now tukaangalia another is key features. On the key features you can see suggests a direct and immediate emergence of life. Also lack mechanism for how complex life forms arise from simple matter and primarily focused on biological processes. Tukiangalia key features za hii theory, imesuggest direct and immediate arise of life. Pia hajatuonyesha complexity. That's yes, tumeona maggots. How these maggots then will give rise to more complex organisms, more complex forms of life. Aliishia pale kwenye maggots tu, basi hatujui other complex forms of life zilitokea wapi. Kwa hiyo kidogo hajaonyesha deeply on how life originated. Again, we can see here primarily focused on biological concept. Pia aliweza kuweka msingi wake sana katika biology, meaning that we can prove this theory experimental. And now we can see Also, current status, the theory has been largely discredited in light of modern biology and microbiology, which support biogenesis, the idea that life comes from existing life. On the current status of this theory, tutaenda kuangalia kwamba ilikuwa discredited by the biogenesis theory. You can call it the idea of biogenesis, meaning that life arises from life or life arises from pre-existing life. Maisha yametokea kwa maisha yaliyokuwepo and not from non-living matters. Now, twende tukaangalia steady state, then tutagundua tofauti kubwa kati ya steady state theory as well as spontaneous generation theory. We can see steady state theory on the definition. The steady state theory is a cosmological model that suggests the universe is eternal and unchanging on a large scale, with new matter being continuously created to maintain a constant average density as it expands. Here we are talking about steady state theory, and this is that theory that explains that life, there is no origin of life. That is a steady state theory. Ilisema kwamba hakuna origin of life, as anachokuambia kwamba hizi living matters and whatsoever zilikuwepo pale kwenye universe hazieleweki zilitokea wapi. That's why the steady state theory ikaamua kueleza kwamba there is no origin of life. So that is the first difference ukicompare na spontaneous. Spontaneous ilizungumzia ilisemelea kwamba the life is from non-living matter, but this is steady state ikatuambia there were no origin of life. Then on the historical context, ile ilishia 19th century, but this proposed in the mid 20th century as an alternative to the Big Bang theory. It gained some traction but has largely fallen out of favor due to observation evidence supporting the Big Bang model. Kwa hiyo kulikuwa kuna observation evidence, this steady state theory haikuwa na evidence, kwa hiyo ikapigwa chini. On the key features, the universe does not have a beginning or an end. It is a constant state of creation. Hiyo ni sifa ya kwanza, kutuambia kwamba universe na life and so forth vilikuwa vina origin. As the universe expands, new matter is created to fill the gaps left by receding galaxies. Pia anasema as universe inavyokuwa expanded, inakuwa replaced by new matters. Again, emphasizes a uniform appearance of the universe over time. Pia aliemphasize kwenye mfanano, tunasema kwamba appearance ya universe over time, where aliona kwamba the same. Again, current status, we can see the steady state theory has been largely abandoned in favor of the Big Bang theory, especially after discoveries such as cosmic microwave background radiation and the observation redshift of galaxies. Current status yake ni kwamba ilikuwa abandoned na Big Bang theory. And now let's take a look on our last question of today, which we are recorded to describe two strengths and two weaknesses of the cosmozoic theory. First of all, you have to understand what this cosmozoic theory states about it. Another name is panspermia. Suggests that life on Earth may have originated from microorganisms or biochemical compounds present in outer space, which were delivered to Earth via comets, meteorites or cosmic dusts. According to the cosmozoic theory, ilitueleza kwamba maisha kwenye universe yalikuja from somewhere else, yalitokea huko kwenye space, kwenye meteorites, asteroids, yakaletwa kwenye universe. And now we are going to look on their strengths and weaknesses. Starting with the strength, you can see cosmic evidence. Existence of organic compounds in space. Observations have identified organic molecules such as amino acids and simple sugars in comets, meteorites, and interstellar dust clouds. And this supports the idea that the building blocks of life are widespread in the universe. So hapa tunaenda kuangalia cosmic evidence kwamba katika huko kwenye outer space ambako cosmozoic ilikuwa inaeleza kweli kulikuwa kuna living matters. That is all about cosmic evidence. Another one is survivability of microorganism, resilience of extremophils. Certain microorganisms such as tardigrades and some bacterial spores can survive extreme conditions, including high radiation, vacuum, and extreme temperatures. This suggests that life could potentially endure the harsh environment of space during transit to Earth. Tunavyosema survivability of microorganism, tunamaanisha kwamba microorganisms walikuwa capable surviving in that areas huko kwenye space, kwa sababu till nowadays kuna bacteria au microorganisms ambao wanaweza survive harsh condition, very acidic conditions, very salty conditions, as well as very hot conditions. That is all about that. On the weakness, we are going to see. First is lack of evidence for life arrival. No direct evidence for extraterrestrial life. While organic molecules have been found in space, there is no direct evidence that living organisms arrived on Earth from outer space. The theory does not explain how life originated elsewhere in the universe. Hakuna direct evidence inayotuonyesha kwamba haya maisha kweli yalitokea kwenye universe, tunasema kwenye space. Hawana direct evidence. Again, does not address the origin of life. This is incomplete explanation. The cosmozoic theory shifts the question of the origin of life to another location rather than providing a definitive explanation. It raises questions about how life began on the planet from which it supposedly came, leaving the fundamental issues unresolved. So this theory haikuresolve issue ya argument ya origin of life, but ilituachia kazi tena, kwa sababu haikutoa the exact origin of life, but ilidampu kazi kwenye terrestrial, I can say from the ilidampu the work to the extra space areas, extra universe areas huko kwenye space. And now this is all about the question number 3 in the revision exercise 4.1 in the topic of evolution. I would like to say thank you for following us, Educare Media Tanzania. Don't forget to subscribe our channel, to like, as well as to share.